I want to hurt him.
Yeah.
That's my mentality right now going into this fight, because I really want to do damage.
He's definitely gonna get punched on. I feel like, you know, he's a lot of heart. He's a lot of heart, and I think that's why he switched back. He had the Cuban coach, and I feel like that wasn't gonna work out well for him, because I mean, he can't learn that type of style that, you know, the Cuban coach is teaching. That's more cultural, more, you know, rhythm and things like that, and things that I feel like he don't have. You know, he's a more of a, you know, kung fu fighter, you know, hard, you know. And, you know, I feel like he's pretty good. He's good. You know, he beat Terrell Goucher. You know, he beat Tony Harrison. You know, I think he beat them on the back end of their career, but, you know, I feel like this supposed to be his coming out party against me, so I'm super excited.
I'm expecting the Errol Spence was fighting.
Yeah.
Kell Brook back in the days, you know, that type of fighter, but we shall see. You know,
Everyone had been waiting for Errol Spence Jr. and Tim Tszyu to finally meet, but the moment they exchanged words, everything changed. The calm mood faded away, and both men showed real focus with a clear hunger to show everyone which fighter deserved to come out on top.
Monotone, but he's very good at that.
Yeah.
You know, and it drowns you.
Yeah.
He's got a very stiff jab, and the jab is very consistent. So I think that's probably going to be the hardest part. But yeah, this fight is going to be a relentless style for me. I'm looking to just bring the heat.
Yeah.
And let's see if he can match it.
Yeah.
Man, I really don't care. I mean, I'm excited. I dream about stuff like this, man. You know, it kind of give me chills now, coming out and everybody booing. They get me more pumped up than anything. People booing, throwing stuff, you know, angry. That really takes the nervousness out of me. Like, I'm not nervous anymore. Like, people booing and saying things and yelling and screaming. That's like the movies to watch as kids, old Spartan movies and stuff. Like, you going to war. So, you know,
Tszyu did not hold back for a second during the conversation. Looking directly at Spence, he warned that this comeback would become a mistake he would never forget. He believed Spence should have chosen a tune-up bout before stepping in with a fighter determined to prove that he is still among the most dangerous names in the 154-pound division. Even so, Spence had no intention of letting those comments go unanswered.
You can expect all-out war. Me, I think a one-sided fight. I think he's gonna give it everything that he has, but I'm definitely gonna put on a great show and show the fans of Australia, show the world that Errol the True Spence is back, and y'all will respect me after this fight.
In your mind, I know we said about breaking Errol, but in your mind, you must feel like this doesn't see 12 rounds on your side.
For sure. That's what I'm going for.
I was reading an interview done with Sporting News Australia, I think, and you said about beating him better than Crawford did. Is that also the mentality in your mind as well?
Well, that's his last hooray that he had, you know? I want him to come back to the memories and do it quicker.
He fired back right away and confidently predicted that Tszyu would be finished within 3 or 4 rounds. That kind of belief only comes from a boxer who is convinced he still belongs among the best despite everything that has happened in recent years. That is the reason this matchup has become such a major topic among fans. Spence has not fought since his defeat to Terence Crawford in 2023. After spending nearly 3 years away from the sport, many fighters would have chosen a safer comeback fight to get back into rhythm. Errol chose to challenge himself instead. There is no question about it.
Oh, no doubt. Vomac, I just want to ask you a couple things in boxing. How do you see the Errol Spence Tim Tszyu fight playing out, man?
Oh man, that's gonna be a great fight. If Errol gonna be himself, he should win. But we don't know what he got left.
Yeah.
So, but if Tim come in and be himself, he'll push Errol to the edge.
Do you think that's like a true 50-50 fight, like a crossroad fight for both those guys?
No, I don't think so. I think Errol probably will.
Think Errol?
Yeah, I think so probably will.
I say you still got the juice. He did 200,000-300,000 views in a week or whatever it's been, 2-3 weeks, and the episode is still climbing, but I'm seeing all the reaction. I'm seeing all the headlines. I'm seeing all the stuff. I say, Errol, you still got the juice, because the boxing community, sports community, they leaning in saying, man, what is Errol Spence talking about, man? I want to lean in. And the takeaway was 90% solid, but we just wanted to address the 10%. We don't always like to address the 10%. We shouldn't address the 10%. Matter of fact, we should walk past the 10% most of the time, but every now and again, we got a little bit of time. And today,
rather than taking a safer option, he accepted one of the toughest challenges available. That decision proves he still trusts that the very best Errol Spence is ready to return and remind the boxing world exactly who he is. Meanwhile, Tszyu is not focused on old belts or what Spence accomplished in the past. He gives him credit for accepting the fight, but believes this comeback could not have come at a worse time for the former champion. That is what makes this contest so dangerous. Both fighters have complete faith in themselves. One is counting on his experience and championship pedigree to take him back to the top, while the other is convinced he is about to stop one of boxing's biggest comeback attempts before it truly begins. Suddenly, July 26th does not feel like an ordinary night of boxing. It feels like a clash between two careers with everything at stake.
he said, still wishing Errol Spence the best in his upcoming fight. I see what y'all are trying to do. We a lot smarter than y'all realize. He said, but it's not going to work. Not this time. I appreciate that from Terrence Crawford. And I called Errol and I said, Errol, hey man, focus on the 90%, bro. Don't focus on them 10%, because the 10% can seem very, very loud. I don't understand where they coming from. I said, but we, your peers and the people that get it, we respect you, bro, because that was the biggest moment of your professional boxing career that had been talked about for years. And it didn't go your way. That was a devastating loss. And you took that, you shouldered that like a man, and you never made one excuse. All we did was sit and talk about it and have a real conversation. And we invited the world in to our personal conversation. So Errol did nothing wrong. Errol didn't make any.
Things became even more exciting after that. Not long after Spence and Tszyu traded knockout predictions during their intense face-off, Terrence Crawford entered the conversation, and without making any disrespectful comments, he still found a way to make the situation feel much more important. What stood out immediately was how fast Bud showed where his support was. He revealed that he would be making the trip to Australia to support Spence. To be fair, that deserves a lot of credit, because many people act as if loyalty disappears the moment competition becomes involved.
Dog, you got anything in closing? Anything we didn't have?
Nah. Just I'm definitely a fan of boxing. You know, I'm gonna be in Australia. I'm gonna be.
I know you're gonna be over there. Yeah,
I'm gonna be supporting Spence, rooting him on.
Yeah.
You know, I just like to support, fighters in his own right. I done been in Boots' locker room supporting him. So yeah, it's just crazy how the tables turn. When people get to a certain plateau and they forget about things like that.
We picking Earl?
Crawford explained that he will always consider himself a boxing fan first. He reminded everyone that he has backed many fighters throughout the years and feels that loyalty should not disappear simply because people online have a different opinion. He even joked that with all the discussion they will likely end up meeting Tszyu in person. But that is just part of boxing. And honestly, that is how it should be. You can support one fighter without making things personal. Crawford also mentioned that fans in many countries know how to disagree with respect. While some people treat a prediction like an insult, he believes that is a fair point to raise.
Look him in the eyes like, yo, I know you heard everything I said, so.
I told him to his face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's cool. It's cool to be, see, and this is what I don't understand why people take it so hurtful. When we in like England and places like that, or overseas, like they tell you, and it's okay, like, hey, you're a great fighter, but I think he's gonna win. Yeah. Afterwards, it's all cool. It's just a opinion that they have.
People spend a lot of time arguing over opinions and forget that nobody truly knows what will happen when the opening bell sounds. Crawford also said that if your pick turns out to be wrong, you should give credit to the winner and move on instead of making excuses. More fans could learn from that approach. When you look at the situation as a whole, one thing becomes obvious. Even people who know boxing well think this matchup is very difficult to call. Crawford believes Spence still has what it takes to win despite spending so much time out of the ring. At the same time, many believed Tszyu's activity and recent performances put him in a strong position. That is what makes this kind of fight so exciting. When experts and people inside the sport cannot agree on the outcome, it usually means something unforgettable could be waiting to happen.
The other way, I said, hey, I wasn't in that man's camp. I don't know what he was up to. I wasn't with him the night before his fight. I don't know what he was up to.
That's an excuse. You make an excuse.
When he went in the ring and did something I didn't think he was gonna do, I ain't know.
No, you gotta just say I was wrong. Just say I was wrong. Congratulations.
Hey, be easy, bud. We'll see you next week.
Then Brian Mendoza brought a very different perspective to the discussion. While Crawford supported Spence out of friendship and belief, Mendoza offered something even more valuable, which was personal experience. He has shared the ring with Spence, and that makes his opinion carry real weight. What stood out most was Mendoza rejecting the idea that Spence is returning just to collect one final paycheck. In Brian's view, that is not the man he knows. He explained that every sparring session became more difficult because Spence would figure things out and make changes overnight. Imagine connecting with a clean punch one day and realizing it no longer works the next because your opponent has already found the answer. That is not something you see from a fighter who is finished. It shows that his boxing mind is still operating at the highest level. Mendoza also reminded fans about something many people overlook. Before Spence became famous for constant pressure and damaging body attacks, he was an Olympic-level boxer with excellent technical skills.
Errol Spence, for those that think that he's done, he's just showing up for a check. I've heard that a lot. A lot of people critiquing. He's not working like someone that's showing up for a check. The work ethic I got to see in the couple weeks I was there, and obviously just from literally being in the ring with him, sharing the ring, working with him, there was adjustments every day. He's not someone that's just showing up and just, clocking in and be like, all right, let's go through the motions and do the same thing. He was making adjustments. I was catching him with shots the first day we sparred. The second day we sparred, those shots were not landing. I had to figure something else out.
Errol Spence.
Exactly. Yeah. People forget, they know he's a pressure fighter. He likes to work the body, and he tries to...
That aggressive approach became his trademark because it was so effective, not because it was all he could do. That is an important detail because when a fighter wins in one style for so long, people tend to forget the many other talents he possesses. Mendoza also pushed Spence in sparring and admitted he connected with some heavy punches without ever seeing him fall apart. That certainly got people talking. Of course, training sessions and real fights are not the same, and nobody should confuse the two. Still, first-hand experience carries significant value. The statement that stood out the most was Mendoza describing training camp as more of a chess match than a simple fight. Fighters rarely speak that highly of one another. He left Houston convinced that Spence is still trying to improve every day rather than just defend his reputation. So while many fans see this return as the closing chapter, Mendoza sees something entirely different. A former champion quietly building himself back up while everyone else is trying to write the ending before the story is finished.
Clocking in, trying to show up for a check and trying to be like, oh, let's see what we can do. Like he's fully locked in. He cares about improving each and every day. And that's what I respected. And, at the end of the day, I even told him, when I was leaving that, I appreciate him having me out, that it was just fun, being in that type of high level chess match again, where I can't just, I'm not just using the same bag of tricks every day. I have to go home from the sparring and think about, okay, well, what am I going to do next time? You caught me with this. Those are signs of someone that is really thinking still.
Then Greg Hackett shifted the discussion after Brian Mendoza spoke about what he saw inside the ring. Greg was more interested in everything taking place beyond the ropes. Interestingly, he had no desire to support one side simply because he was giving an interview. The first thing that stood out was the respect he had for both Errol Spence and Derrick James. Even with that respect, he feels much of the blame placed on the trainer misses the full story. His message was straightforward. When a fighter enters the biggest bout of his career, while dealing with injuries, a coach is no longer in the best possible position. That is a point many fans tend to overlook. Hackett continued to stress one thing, which was accountability. His meaning was simple. A trainer can teach, prepare, and make changes, but once a fighter walks out of the gym, every decision they make belongs to them alone.
Get sharp. Everyone step on the gas. We also got to hold back because he injured. We don't want him to be more injured by the time we get to the fight. So, I think it plays a part more on Errol than it did Derrick James, because you already hurt. And on top of that, Derrick James is not responsible for when you leave the gym. That's not his. Whatever you do outside the gym, that's not his fault. You know what I'm saying? When you was in that car and you banged out and all that,
Who do you believe is going to come out on top in this fight? Leave your prediction in the comments and be part of the discussion. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more boxing coverage and breaking updates. Thanks for spending your time with us, and I will catch you in the next video.